Welcome to The Good Pie, where today we're covering Elsbeth Season 2, Episode 18, I Know What You Did 33 Summers Ago. I am here, one of your hosts, Jason, with me, as always, the one, the only Marissa Garza. Marissa, first of all, you good?
I'm good. You good?
I'm good. Second of all,
Okay.
what? Huh? Wait, what?
Yeah, I feel like this turned into a different show. Like in just what, 42 minutes or something like that?
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
That was quite the ender. You would think with the ending like this, that this would be the season finale, but we have two more
You would
episodes.
think.
We have two more episodes left, so this really left me scratching my head, going, "Wow, that is an ending to this episode, to this arc, to this plot line." Listen, we've talked about how Elsbeth ends its kind of overarching plots in odd ways. This may be one of the oddest.
Yeah.
That a storyline has ended, and really
Yeah.
kind of out of left field for this show, Elsbeth, which is just usually all sunshine and rainbows. Yes, there are murders every week, but nothing quite like this.
I mean, but this one, okay, I think we'll get into it, but this one was actually with a gun.
Yeah.
And also, I think that I said at the end of this episode, I was like, well, that's one way to do it. I was like, that I guess that's the end of it, because I was like making up all of these other alternative, of course, ways that this could go, and like because we have those extra episodes, that at the end. But it looks like we're going to go somewhere else, or tangentially, or who knows. We are in uncharted Elsbethian territory.
Yeah, we'll talk about where we think this can go as we roll through the episode and get to the end of the episode. Before we dive into the episode, let's remind you some free and easy ways that you can support this podcast. If you like what you're hearing, if you like us, we would love it if you would review and rate the podcast on any podcast platform you're on. Apple, Spotify. Apple, you can leave a 5-star review and you can leave a written review. We really love those. And if you're on a Spotify, you can leave just a 5-star review. We would love it if you did all those things. It really helps get us into the eyes and ears of more people. If you're on YouTube, please leave us a thumbs up and write in the YouTube comments. We love interacting with people in the comments. If you leave us a comment, we'll check it out and we'll write back to you. If you just want to write to us in general to talk about our show, the show, you can write to us at thegoodpodfeedback@gmail.com to chop it up with us about any and everything that you wanted to talk about. With that being out of the way, Marissa, let's get into the episode.
Would you like to time travel to 33 years ago?
33 summers ago. Let's do it. Yeah. Yes, go.
That's how Wayne and Garth told me how to time travel.
Yeah, and whatever they used back in the 90s, when time travel episodes are very prevalent back then, whether it be the swooshing transition or the flashing screen, whatever it is you were used to back in your 90s sitcoms, just imagine that's happening on this episode of Elsbeth.
That is happening here, exactly. Yeah, so we are in a yacht club at the beginning of this episode, and I quite honestly didn't know when or why or what. They did a good job kind of unveiling this, I think, to the audience, but spoilers.
I mean,
this is Sherry, Andy, and Milton at the end. But the Milton dialogue at the end of the scene was like, if you didn't get it by then, you gotta get it by now.
Listen, I will give props to the Elsbeth casting department, because when I saw this little teenage creep, I was like, oh, this must be Milton. We must be visiting Milton here. I was like, because they did a good job of making this young guy look like the younger version of Michael Emerson as Crawford. So I was like, okay, is this? I think we're looking at Milton here. Is this Milton? It probably helps that I knew from promos and everything that this was going to be a Milton Crawford heavy episode. So that probably helps with my vision of things. But yeah, they did a good job of costuming and man to look like a young Milton Crawford.
Yeah, Sherry, the young lady in the scene, is like super into Andy. You could totally tell. But Milton, of course, can't fathom that this would be the case. He is super creepy from the jump. He's just like, I'm using Andy to have him open the pool for you, Sherry. Like, I'm so cool. Do you want some of this really old scotch from my dad's collection? I'm so cool. And Sherry's like, no, you are not cool. No, thank you. And to the point where Milton kind of takes Andy aside and says, hey, Sherry's saying that you're kind of like a third wheel, and she wants you to leave. And Andy's like, oh, well, I didn't know. Like, poor Andy. I feel like Andy was like a great guy. Like, he just was like, he had some weird, like, sexual tendencies. Like, everyone's got their, I'm no kink shaming, but like, he was just like a dude who was working a summer job and didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, vibes were all over the place. Andy was giving a creep vibe, which Sherry's picking up on. And I think Andy was getting the vibes from Sherry that Sherry was into Andy. But then when Milton comes in, he's, hey, bro, like Sherry, she really just wants me and her to be a thing. So she wants you to get lost. She's Andy being like, really? Because I was picking up the vibes that Sherry was into me. But okay, bro, if you say so, I'll take off. And he does just that.
He's immediately like using his privilege. He's like, well, my dad's on the board or whatever, and also like all of this stuff. So you wouldn't want to like disappoint me, right, bro? Like that's like a thing. And so Andy leaves, and then Milton gets in the pool with Sherry and like immediately goes in.
They did such a great job in shooting this scene because Sherry just like backstroking in the pool, and all of a sudden Milton's here. Hey, how are you doing? You're like, nice backstroking out there. And Sherry's immediately, the creep vibes are on 10 with Milton. She's like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, where'd Andy go? Oh, he left. He just decided he wanted to leave us alone.
Yeah, well, it is like, he said he felt like a third wheel, which I totally understand, right? Like, and then goes in for the kiss, and she's like, no, thank you. And it looks like Sherry has taken some self-defense classes, because as Milton continues to make his approach, he smacks him in the nose after Andy had smacked her for refusing her. So she was defending herself, ends up like, she dies in the pool. We don't necessarily see all of it, but Andy comes back downstairs. There's a body floating in the pool, and he asks Milton, like, what did you do? And Milton goes, I think you mean, what did we do?
What did we do, Andy? What did we do? I think you mean, my good sir. And it would be helpful. Andy was so long ago, right? In terms of the show, like I was like, I wish I did. We do it previously on? I don't remember seeing it previously on before.
No?
I think would have helped to get it previously on, to remind ourselves that who we were dealing with. We're talking about Andy. We're talking about Delia, who Judge Crawford killed Andy. Let's remember that Judge Crawford killed Andy, and this is the same young man that is in this flashback is Andy, the person Milton Crawford killed episodes ago. I think it's a helpful reminder to know what we're walking in on. This is the same guy.
We get some of that, but in true King fashion, it's like later.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not in the beginning. But I also think that like this was a great story that maybe was stretched a little too long within the season. Yeah. Like if this episode was closer to the Andy episode, or there was some more breadcrumbs up into this point with like Delia did pop in and out, but like a little bit more, maybe some, Milton saying he's going yachting or to the Cape or something like that. Like something would have been a little bit warranted.
And it's too long to leave us with no reason why Milton did what he did earlier in the season. Cause it's like, we never knew why Crawford killed Andy in the first place. And I don't know if it would have helped us to get that reasoning in that first episode, or maybe somewhere in the middle, get the reason why Crawford did this to Andy instead of here in the last Crawford episode. I think it could have been done a lot smoother and a lot better to give us, to breadcrumb us better into the resolution here.
Yeah.
When we see Crawford, there was nothing really substantial. It was just like is this podcast what we were talking about where he was kind of like Claw from Inspector Gadget, where he was just like, he's just there to be villainous and we don't know what exactly he's doing. So I just think it would have been better to reveal the reasoning behind the murder earlier.
Yeah, well, and he like messes with Elsbeth's life with that whole like talking to the news people. I totally already forgot that person's name. Amber Rose? Yeah?
Amber person? Sure.
You know the divorce case thing.
True Rose.
Yeah,
Rose. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Like he gets all involved in that, and we have like I think it's showing that he can meddle, but we still, to your point, don't have the motive until episode 18. So Milton is getting vetted for his judgeship, his federal judgeship, and the guy's like, hey, anything I need to know, anyone from your past that we need to know about. And this is where we get the flashback of Milton saying, Andy, been a long time, whack. let me kill you,
Mm-hmm.
basically. So that's our reminder what's going on.
Yeah.
Back at the station, Elsbeth is Elsbeth also gives us a previously on in a way because she's in the room with Kershaw, Wagner, Kaya, and Rivers, who apparently is around this time for this.
I had forgotten what River's name was, and I put in my notes Detective Dickface. I was like, oh yeah, his name is Rivers. Rivers was much less obnoxious in this episode. They really toned
Yeah,
down the obnoxiousness for Rivers, which is I
thankfully.
think is good. He is still inept and an idiot, but he's not a misogynistic a-hole with how he was operating here. So they really did a better job of kind of tuning him down. Because before, when we
Agreed.
saw him the first time, we were just like, "Oh my god, I don't want this guy anywhere near our
Near
people anymore."
Kaya
Like,
or any, yeah, no,
yeah. So
let
they,
alone to be paired up. No,
yeah,
thank you.
they did a good job of really tuning him down.
Yes. So Elspeth goes through the whole thing about how Crawford had to be the person who killed Andy because he mentioned to her after the case that Andy was a disco loving pervert or something like that. And it was because Donna Summer was they were playing Donna Summer on the
Record
record
player.
player. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that took like for way too long in my brain on the record player. And Wagner also like backs up Elsbeth and says, "Hey, this is also when Crawford like became a thorn in everyone's side, like messing with stuff, doing things." So he assigns Kaya and Rivers to assist on looking at the murder again, but through the eyes of Crawford being the perfect person of interest. And Rivers at first is like, well, yeah, but this is my case. And Kershaw like shuts him down right away. Like, you are lucky. You are lucky, my friend, to be paired up with Detective Blanc.
I gotta tell you, I don't like this at all. I was like, huh? I was really nervous because number one, Kershaw is being so nice to Kaya. Kershaw is, you are lucky to be paired with a detective as good as Detective Block. I was like, okay, they're being too nice. I'm just scared that by the end of the season, Kaya is going to be like, because Kershaw
No.
a few episodes ago was like, "Hey Kaya, if you want to change of pace, come on over to my precinct." And now Kershaw is being nice to Kaya. I was like, "Oh, this is making me uneasy." And the fact
If
that
this is, yeah.
Kaya and Rivers by the end of the episode are like this duo, I'm like, I'm not loving this. I'm not loving the way that I think this is going, but I don't know.
Well, and also given, I think Sarah talked about this last time we talked to Elsbeth, was the fact that the actress that plays Kaya is pregnant. And so if they
Mm-hmm.
just like ship her off to another district for a while, that's not a great. I mean, I know I say things when there's tote bags hiding pregnancies, like you can tell it, but I would much rather have that situation here. Unless the actress like doesn't want to work, which I totally get.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. It's setting some weird things up. At the end of this conversation, Elspeth's like, we have a lead. And Delia pops up. And I don't know about you, Jason, but I laughed out loud at Wagner's reaction to this because like, the door opens, we see a Delia, and then Wagner does a lean and it's like, Elspeth.
Elsbeth,
Like,
why are you getting the citizens involved in this, Elsbeth?
I
Okay.
was like, but he did like the Elsbeth Poppin, like the lean that she usually does that,
Mm,
famously showed up on Survivor 800 times before the
yeah.
show went on. But I thought that was just like a cute little moment. And Delia apparently had been stealing stuff out of Andy's apartment every time she was role playing
Oh boy.
and has a bunch of stuff that talks about the yacht club. And so they determine this is a road trip that needs to be gone on and they need to do some investigation.
I thought it was cute that Andy saved his yacht club ID from all those summers ago. At first, I was like, "That's weird," but then I thought about the fact that no, that's not weird because I feel like it's when you go to jobs and especially when you're younger, like like I have a Blockbuster name tag from when I worked at Blockbuster
Yeah.
still in my things because it's like it's a little memento of the times. I don't know if, but honestly, I don't know if you would rather remember your time at the yacht club, what happened
Not
with
this one.
Andy at a
Like if
yacht
I were
club.
Andy,
Yeah.
no. I still have, it wasn't like one of my first jobs, but I did work at the Disney store, and it was a momentous occasion for me because I got a cast member badge, so I kept my cast member badge. But yeah, like those little like mementos of things, or those things are good to burn if the job is not great. I've done that as well. Like,
the ceremonial burning of memories of
yes.
a terrible job.
Yeah.
I don't know, Marissa.
They all have meaning.
For some reason, the Disney store just seems perfect for you.
I was like, you're not going to be surprised.
Was that like your dream job of the Disney store? Oh my God, it's going to be so fun to be a Disney person. I don't know. It just seems like it just fits you.
Well, in college, I got accepted to the college program, but then because I knew so much about the parks, they assigned me to janitorial. And then my dad was like, if you're going to clean, you can clean here. I'm not going to send you to Florida to clean. So I was like, okay. So I passed on that. So then when I graduated, I was like, I'm still going to do it. I'm going to work for the Disney store. So it was a little bit of living out that dream. But yeah, I'll never forget my dad. It was like, if you want to clean, you could start here. You don't have to go to Florida for that. I was like, okay. All right, Dad. Because at the parks, and then I'll stop. But at the parks, the like custodial staff gets asked the most questions about the park. So it's not necessarily like, it's like that you're out and about and can tell people where to go. I'm like, but I want to be a tour guide. But anywho, back to the show. Teddy apparently has taken his LSAT in the span of a couple of episodes, and he scores well, of course, because he was using a Kaplan book, I just have to say. And then apparently he's going to go to law school. What do I think of this, Jason? Like, all of a sudden, he's like, hey, I'm going.
Very fast movement in the Teddy plot line there. And I was wondering if is it only to get the payoff at the end of this episode to like how he's feeling by the end. It felt very out of nowhere, very fast. I was like, oh, you've already taken the LSATs and you already have the results and already going to law school.
He went from, I got my results to, don't worry, Mom, I'll stay home with the dog and start looking at law schools. And I was like, you're not going to like wait like a day? You're not like, it just was like, boom, we're going into this. Yeah, but apparently fast. Teddy's going to law school. I loved this little outing between Wagner and Elsbeth. The fact that these two were on the scene and got to go around and their relationship has grown to a point where Elsbeth can be her true self and Wagner's not really annoyed by it. He's just like aware of it. Was so great to see. So Wagner and Elsbeth are headed to Cape Cod. Elsbeth, of course, is like packing everything. They're just going for like a day. She's got like 5 suitcases or something. And she has downloaded the Nutjob Sluts Who Kill podcast to bring them to Cape Cod.
A great callback to the first Crawford episode where we met the podcaster who Elsbeth got taken off of the jury because he is doing this whole podcast, Nutjob Sluts Who Kill. I thought it was a very fun callback. And notice Elsbeth has suitcases, not tote bags. We commented last episode, it seems like the tote bags have ceased being a part of Elsbeth's character.
But for the love of God, do not replace them with suitcases.
Yeah, she can't be carrying around 5 suitcases at a time.
No. The federal investigator is talking to Crawford about his transactions, and he finds out that Crawford belongs to the yacht club, and they have a cottage up in Cape Cod. And the guy's like, well, why didn't you list this as a residence? And Crawford's like, oh, well, if you're going to like interrogate me this much, I'm going to go get some food. I got to go. Like, he's a little nervous. And I was like, what do you expect with this question? Like, these are basic questions, Milton. Like, it's okay.
I wasn't sure what he was up to when he's like, I gotta go order food. I thought he was going to go.
I know. I was like, you're gonna die. Like that was my thing. I was like, you're gonna get poisoned.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna poison the food or do something else mischievous while he's going to go get food. But I feel like there was something meant to be there, and maybe they edited it out. They're just like, that doesn't fit. Let's just leave in the line about food, but he just won't do anything. He's ordering the food. I was like, okay, that's weird. I thought maybe he would call the yacht club and be like, if anyone asks about me, let me know. Like I thought maybe he would be calling the yacht club or something. I don't know. It was weird.
It was weird. Elsbeth and Wagner arrive at the yacht club. Of course, Elsbeth is going to take everything in. She's really into taffy. She wants to eat all of the taffy that she possibly can. And Wagner's like, we can't look like tourists. We have to blend in. He's like very serious about it. But we learn that Andy, from the guy who works there, who knew Andy got a last minute scholarship and went to a private school in New York. So he was kind of taken out of the Cape Cod area. And Elsbeth, of course, is going to find a photo of Crawford while walking through these cases. I was like, this is going to happen. Ready? Now.
Yeah, of course. I have to cut, like, when they arrive in the yacht club, and I was just like, tell me about your shrimp. And she's doing the asshole accent. I was like, oh my God. And then Wagner's just like, so I called you on the phone. And I was like, what are you doing? This guy knows who we are, why we're coming here. Stop being weird, but that's like telling a fish not to swim. And yeah, like, Elsbeth is very, like, observational. She's very keen to observe things, but it sometimes just seems like clues jump out and bite her. Hey, here I am, the name Crawford. Come see me. There's more information about the case. Ask more questions. Ask the exact right questions.
Yeah. And Wagner's like, hey, did you, to the guy whose name I don't think we got, or I forgot, who's walking them through the yacht club, like, did you know Andy? This is when we learned that he left. And then there's a picture of people by an indoor pool. And the guy's like, yeah, we had to close it down. It became a liability. And I love how Elsbeth is like, oh, the pool was the liability, not the traveling lightning rods in the open water known as yachts.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Wagner's like, why? Why did that happen? Did something happen? So we don't hear them being told what happened, but we assume that they get told what happened because the next thing we see is Elsbeth and Wagner at Sherry's sister's house. I thought this was a pretty funny scene with the Cheerios. I was tickled by that. That was pretty funny. But she tells Wagner and Elsbeth that Sherry was in love with Andy, like head over heels, like super crushing, super hard. And everyone was kind of surprised that Andy didn't show up at Sherry's funeral. She ends up going downstairs and getting a box, which just happens to have evidence bags in it that haven't been touched in 33 years.
Yeah, I was like, is that normal? Do they give you all the stuff complete with evidence bags? I feel like they take the things out of the evidence bags and they give you the personal belongings back. I was like, oh, they got all the official police evidence bags and everything. And just, yeah, like you said, just so happens that has the pivotal evidence we need in these bags. Untouched and undamaged because they've been factory sealed by the police in these bags.
Yes. Yes, including a fanny pack. Did you have fanny pack? Were you a fanny pack person? I was a fanny pack person. I still am a fanny pack person. I just took a fanny pack to Disney.
I think I was I'm not a fanny pack person anymore. If I was when I was a kid, my mom probably bought me one to send me out on field trips or something. Keep all your stuff in here. Don't lose any of your stuff. Make sure you have your fanny pack clipped on you at all times. But I can't remember the last time I wore a fanny pack. It's gotta have been at least 2 decades since I've worn a fanny pack. Probably way longer than that. Maybe 3 decades. I don't know.
I have many a fanny pack that I have never worn on my fanny. Like, I've like worn it all other different ways, but I've never like worn it backwards. Anyhow,
well, listen, fanny packs are in style now. They're like the Mercers. The Mercers are the men wearing like the little purse things that are almost look like a fanny pack, but it's not my style. It's not my thing.
I think they call them belt bags now.
Oh,
I think that's
belt bags.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know, but I just call it a fanny pack. On these evidence bags is the name of Detective Hines. So Wagner's like, yo, is this guy around? Can we go talk to him? So they go to where the pool has been cemented over, and Elsbeth is doing her Elsbeth thing of like recreating the whole murder. So she was here, and then she slipped and fell and went over here. And Wagner's like, I'm so sorry about this.
Yeah, she's got that Elsbeth flair. It doesn't make sense. If she was drinking alcohol, she was over here by the edge, she like runs over to the place and she falls. Like she acted out the whole thing in only the way that only Elsbeth can. And it's so funny to see, like you said earlier, Wagner knows Elsbeth's like deal, but then I feel like Wagner's like that embarrassed child with their crazy parent. Yeah, I'm sorry you have to see this. This is embarrassing. This is just her. And he's like, that's okay. Like the detective's like, this is cool. I don't used to see this nonsense all the time.
It's like, this is the most exciting thing that's happened in a while. But through this conversation, we do learn that Sherry's blood alcohol level was low, but which didn't make sense because the level in the scotch bottle was really low as well. So where did all the scotch go? Could she have been there by herself? Probably not, if that much scotch was gone. I don't know why that was the assumption, because it could have just been a not full bottle of scotch at the beginning, but they're onto something.
Yeah, listen, it helps us that we know what happens, so we know why these things are. But that's the conceit of the show, is like
You
Yeah,
know.
we know, and that we have to figure out how they get to know it. And
Yes.
sometimes leap in logic is okay. Let's just not worry about it.
Elsbeth asks about if the blood on the fanny pack was ever tested. And the guy's like, if you showed us CSI, we would think it was a sci-fi show. We did not have DNA testing back then. And so they realize that while they have some stuff, they don't have anything concrete to connect to Crawford. And as they are leaving the yacht club, like Elsbeth is talking to Wagner, and Wagner is saying to her, we have nothing concrete to tie Crawford to the murders, as they are passing the federal investigation
Yeah.
guy, who apparently also went to the yacht club to find out what's up. And he calls Crawford right away. It was like, why is there a man and a woman here asking questions about you? And Crawford's like, the woman, how is she dressed? Yeah, I was actually glad that this was the Fed guy that did it and not like someone in town. Like, I didn't want him to have connections everywhere. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Okay, so Rivers and Blanc are looking through all of the evidence. They can't find anything in Andy's search history that's linking him to Crawford, but they do see through a red light camera that Crawford's plates were around there 2 hours before Delia called 911. They also are reading Sherry's diary. Elsbeth is, and she's all up in the tea. She's learning all of the things, but she also learns that Sherry was super crushing on Andy. And this is where we see the reference in the diary that Milton is known as the Lurker. We don't know his name is Milton, but the name Lurker comes up. And it's still at this point, they have no hard proof. And I like what they did with Rivers here, because from this point on, he is just Captain Obvious. Like,
Yeah.
everyone knows that, like, we need more proof, but he's like, well, if we don't have anything concrete, it won't hold up in court. So it's like, you're right.
Yeah, thank you.
You got that one right.
Thank you, Exposition King. Thank you so much for letting us know exactly what we're missing, exactly what we need to keep the audience in the loop. Thank you so much, Rivers. I do like the serve that he gives to Elsbeth, though. He's like, why do you like the Morton Salt girl?
Well, and I like her comeback of like, we would not have been friends in high school.
Yeah, Rivers would have definitely been the bullying Elsbeth in high school. And I was like, who even knows to reference the Morton Salt girl? Like, how often are you looking at the
Especially Rivers? Like, why would Rivers know it?
That's like, I was like saying you look at the Copper Tone kid on the suntan lotion label. Like, how
The
often
Copper Tone Beach Baby.
Yeah, how often are you actually looking at those things to reference that in everyday life now? Oh, okay, Rivers, we see you with the cool references, trying to make you a likable character. We see what you're doing, Kings. We see what you're doing.
I would say Don Draper, advertising king that he was on Mad Men, would be proud that something has lasted the test of time. On the way home, Elsbeth gets a call from Wagner, and he's like, look, this isn't great. The commissioner has called me and says that they are going to investigate internally. Something is up. Crawford knows. And like clockwork, who shows up behind Elsbeth in the subway, like, stairwell? None other than Crawford. And also, like, nobody else is around. I thought this was, like, really interesting. Like, it's just her and him.
Crawford got so lucky that Elsbeth was distracted and went down like the wrong tunnel. Oh, cool. Like, this is a dead end tunnel. No one else is here. I can threaten her in private. Like, how lucky for him that she went into this abandoned subway platform tunnel.
Right.
I don't know, whatever. And this is happening more and more to Elsbeth. She's getting backed into corners by our suspect here and getting threats. But this threat was the threatiest of all threats.
Yeah, he's like, did you have a lovely trip to the Cape? And in true Elsbeth fashion, she's like, I can take that. I can serve it right back to you. Like, what about Sherry? Do you remember her? And you can kind of like see this recognition on Milton's face. And then she says, you never know when danger is lurking.
Ooh.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
And his response is like, the time for threats is over. Like, I'm serious. Like, stuff is going to happen.
Yeah, and this is Elsbeth's MO. She confronts the suspect. She basically tells them how she has figured them out. She drops hints of, I know what you did and I know how you did it. But I think she did it to the wrong person this time, because usually we're dealing with people that this is probably their first time killing someone, or they're amateur killers, and this will force them to make a mistake and slip up. This is Crawford. Crawford is much more like savvy than some of the other suspects you come up against. So when you threaten him like this, he is going to take immediate and swift action, as we see he does now. So I think Elsbeth was not really, she was still kind of underestimating Crawford at this point, because
Yeah.
from what he does
For
from here
sure.
on out, it's, whoa, you messed with the wrong one now.
Well, and he had to have done something before he even met up with Elsbeth, because at that time,
Yeah.
Elsbeth's phone rings and he's like, hey, I'm pretty sure that's the DOJ telling you that Sultana was fired. And I don't know, maybe like your consent decree is in question now. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with that. But P.S., have a great night. Like, bye. So he's already making some
Well,
moves.
Yeah, because he already knew that Wagner and Elsbeth were at the
Yeah.
Cape. So he already knows that they're like really hardcore looking
He's-
into, like, they're getting somewhere. Like, it's not just
He's
accusation. They're actually finding things. So he's got to take some swift action. But yeah, now it's just Elsbeth that just keeps egging it on. It's like, oh, a lot. So you are on quite a journey here. But yeah, like you said, he's already done stuff.
He's got the police involved. Like, there's the internal investigation. We've
Yep.
got the DOJ. And then later we find out that her ex-husband is being investigated by the Illinois State Bar and could be disbarred. So it's like the circle has gotten smaller in the span of like 5 minutes of the episode.
Yeah,
it was like the threats just kind of zoning in on her.
It was interesting to hear Celentano's name again, since we hadn't really heard of that since season 1. You're like, oh, Celentano is still a thing, and like the consent decree is now more in question, which is it's been so long since we even referred to the consent decrees. Oh yeah, this is still a thing that can happen.
Yes, yeah. So she goes home. She goes back in the morning to the police station, and everyone's running around like crazy because there's been a mandate to cut 25% of the staff. This is again another Crawford influence here. And Kaya is super worried because she's like, how's the last one hired? Like, last one hired, first one fired. That's usually how it goes in these things. And Elsbeth's like, don't worry about it. I got your back. She goes in and talks to Wagner, and Elsbeth is like really worried. This is the first time we see her ever kind of question, like, not proceeding and trying to find out what happened or moving forward. Wagner is carrying that flag here. He's like, we always get our man. Like, we can do this. And she's like, these aren't moves. They're a message. Like, we are in danger. Like, danger, Wagner.
Yeah, Wagner. This isn't like a TV show where things always have a happy ending at the end. This is real life, Wagner. And
yeah, Wagner.
Yeah, I would say she is very scared. I remember in the Alyssa Milano episode, she for a moment, like a little moment, was like, maybe we shouldn't do this, because Alyssa Milano like slightly threatened Teddy and Gonzo.
Yeah.
But that lasted for all of 6 seconds. Now, Elsa's just, a lot is happening here. I thought this was the moment where Kaya was going to get reassigned, because I thought, like, how else better to F with Elsbeth than to separate her and Kaya into different precincts. So I thought that was, like, I kept looking out for the moment, like, all right, what's going to happen with Kaya? Is Kaya going to be forced to go somewhere else? I didn't know. But yeah, like, this guy is the biggest threat Elsbeth has come up against, because he can do real damage to her everyday life. And like you said, like, we heard about the ex-husband having like violations against him or threatening disbarment. I was like, if I'm Elsbeth, like, okay, like, I know you're trying to mess with me, Crawford, but do you think I care if my ex-husband gets violated? Do you think I care if he gets disbarred? Thank you, Crawford. I hate that guy. Thank you for getting him disbarred. But yeah, Teddy would be upset about it.
It's
so
one step away from Teddy.
Yeah.
It's one step away from Teddy. It's not like, you know, regardless of how she feels about her ex-husband, it's like getting zeroed in on Teddy. And here Teddy's like, I'm going to go to law school. And I'm like, oh man, like, Crawford's not going to let you do that. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to have some sort of influence there.
Yeah, so the threat is real from Crawford is basically what they're trying to tell us. This is not your average amateur killer. This is Crawford, who has a lot of power and persuasion in the lives of these people.
Yes. Crawford is throwing a party with the Historical Law Society, I'm assuming to celebrate his, you know, achievement of being asked to join the bar or the federal judgeship. And who shows up to this? None other than the Wagners. Both of them are here. Claudia is here on the arm. And, you know, Wagner's like, this is a goodwill visit. Crawford's like, is it? Is it though? And Claudia's like, I really hope that, like, we can build bridges between our foundations. Can I get you a drink? Like, can I just go get you something? And then Wagner is like, we got to talk man to man. Like, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to close the investigation. And when I come back, Claudia's like, here's your drink. And we find out that Claudia swapped the glass like a pro, like the pro that she is, which makes me wonder how many
Oh,
times has she done this?
listen, I was of so many minds in this moment. 'Cause I was like, maybe we can link up our foundations. Yeah, your criminal foundation, Claudia. Is that what you're looking for? Do you know Crawford already? Are you and Crawford in cahoots? And then my mind got to thinking, like, what if Crawford threatens Wagner and says, hey, your wife has been doing criminal
Right?
stuff and I know about it. And
Right.
I could get
And I've been
her,
covering it up.
yeah, I could get her thrown in prison with what I know. So you better leave me. I was like, oh, what? I was like, in my mind, I called it. And Claudia was like acting really chummy with Crawford. I was like, oh, I got it. And then this Claudia's like, oh, guess what? I got the glass for you guys because I've been in on it with you. And I was like, oh, dang. I was like, it's time. Maybe it's just time that I drop my suspicion of Claudia. But then something else happens. And we'll talk about it when we get there. And I was like, maybe I'm not going to drop it yet. Maybe not. I don't know. But let's keep moving.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? Okay, so the Wagners are like, they're like, oh my gosh, you're so great. And I was just like, this is adorable. Let's get this to the lab. Like, let's get on with this. The next day or later, yeah, the next day, Delia is reading like everything about the case and is talking to Elsbeth, and she's like, you really have to like nail this creep. Like, he is a real big jerk. And then she says things which, now that we know the end of how the episode ends, are really, blaring messages. She says, the whole world thinks I'm a murderer. I can't get a job. I can't get a place. You are talking to a woman who has nothing left to lose. And if there's anything, the most dangerous thing that you could ever encounter is a woman with nothing left to lose. So
Yeah.
she's in a frame of mind that I didn't really pick up on until the end.
It makes much more sense in hindsight.
Yes.
In this context. Oh, okay. Got you.
The investigation that the feds are doing into Crawford is coming to a close. Crawford's like, don't worry, the city people won't be a problem anymore. I've taken care of it. Meanwhile, Kaya finds out that Andy's scholarship was paid for by the Historical Law Society. And again, like, that's all she has to say. Like, everybody can make the connections, right? Like, oh, Historical Law Society, Crawford. No, Rivers has to go, okay, so, like, his parents were part of the chapter in Boston. And so what we think happened was that his parents used money from the Historical Law Society to pay for the scholarship to get Andy out of town.
Yeah.
Wagner's like, great detective work. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Rivers. You really spelled it out for us. We all weren't sure what that meant, but thank you so much for really spelling it out for me and the audience. We appreciate you, Rivers.
Well, and I mean, I like that he said both of you, because I think he was like, I was there before you even were, but also, thanks, Kaya, for making the call. It turns out also that Elsbeth Delia had some extra phones that Andy was using to make some searches about the Senate committee that was going to nominate Crawford to the federal bench. And she found out that he was doing a bunch of searches on the Senate committee and had also made a phone call and left a voicemail. And so basically at this point, also Rivers, again, Captain Obvious, that's Andy. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you got it. And Kaya's like, I gotta call Cameron to see what's going on with the lab. Like, we are super close now. Like, she's like, we can do this. Meanwhile, Teddy comes in, drops off dinner, and Elsbeth is like, I read your essay, which he's already written.
Yeah, that was fast.
Again,
in a
like,
day?
Super quick.
In a whole day.
Like, okay. Of course it's generic, when she was like, he took like 45 minutes to write it. Like, what do you think it's going to be? And she's just like pressing him to like show more of himself. And he explains that he didn't really think about going into law school until I saw my mom basically become a superhero. And then I wanted to do so too. And Elspeth's like, I'm so proud of you. Put that in. Meanwhile, Kaya finds out from Cameron that there's no record of this testing being dropped off at the lab. There's no entry. There's no physical evidence. There's no record, like a sign in. Any evidence that this had happened at all.
Yeah, it's quote unquote, it's gone missing. It's disappeared. Like, so I don't think we did enough looking into of this. You're just like, oh, it's gone. Like,
well, yeah, like Wagner's next line is basically like, well, He's got too much power.
It's
I don't know
over.
what else we could
It's
do.
like, no, you two literally took the fanny pack to this place. It exists. So let's dig into this. Who
Also, like,
chain
you're
of
telling me there's not security
yeah,
cameras at the evidence drop-off place?
chain of custody. Who did y'all give it to? And then we talk to that person. Like,
Yeah.
who did you get? They're just like, oh, it's over. Crawford won. It's a little too quick for me in this episode of TV to just shrug your shoulders. Like, ah, guess he's won. It's over. It's okay. That was a little much for me. A little much.
It's a little much for Elsbeth, too. She doesn't really say anything, but she's like, I gotta go. And she goes to confront Crawford. And she's like, if you think I'm gonna let this go, well, I know what you did. And he's surrounded by people. And Milton, again, I don't like this guy. He's like, do you see how unfazed my colleagues are by having a woman accuse me of things? Just another day at the office here. Like, this happens all the time. Whose turf do you think you're on, basically? And he says, like, I've always been a step ahead of you. Like, you can't win. And she's like, well, if there's one thing I know about New York, you can't escape your past. And Crawford basically is like, well, hypothetically, if
he's like,
I did all of this stuff,
he's basically like OJ Simpson, right? Like, he wrote a book like, if I did it, like, this is how I would have done it. Bro, what do you like? He's like, literally, because he uses the word hypothetically, he is kind of clearing himself just in case. Because I've seen a lot of comments about this episode in the interwebs. Everybody's like, what if Elsbeth should have just recorded the conversation and then, but I'm like, legally, he said hypothetically, so he can't really do anything. It is kind of a dumb thing, but because he said hypothetically, then he could just say, I said hypothetically, so obviously I didn't really do this. So yeah, even if she recorded it, legally, they couldn't really have done anything with a recording.
The conversation that I think could have been recorded and useful was the one in the subway.
Yeah.
Like, when he's like literally saying the time for threats is over, I'm doing this to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that would have been handy. That would have been great to have. But yeah, like, the hypothetically, I mean, things that I have learned about working in corporate: never say I'm sorry, and always say hypothetical.
Yeah.
Like, those are things that will cover you further than you think. But basically, Crawford's like, yo, Elsbeth, you lost.
Yeah.
And so they add.
He says, he's hypothetically, if I did this, all the evidence of it is long gone. And Andy's dead. There's no record of anything. So you got nothing. Now, I will say, Crawford does say to Elsbeth, I was tipped off that there was something at the lab. So I was like, did Claudia go back and tell him? Like, she's telling our people, like, yeah, we got him. And then she literally calls Crawford, like, hey, they got your prints at the lab.
Jason.
I was like, so
I think you could, yeah.
Claudia's not out of my sphere of suspicion yet. I was ready to give up on it because I was like, okay, Claudia's with the good guys. She's helping the good guys. I was like, okay, cool, fine. Claudia's not a bad person. But then Crawford literally says, someone tipped me off. There's something I was like, okay.
Good ears.
She's still
good ears.
Claudia's still in the running of being a bad person. She's still in there. Like, it will probably never come to be, but I'm still on it.
If it does, I will send you something Chicago related.
Oh, deep dish pizza, please. Let's go.
Yeah, I'll send you one.
Yeah,
that's fine. That'll work.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's on the pod, so it has to happen.
Yeah.
So
it's recorded.
Yes, it's recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then they leave the courthouse. They're on the steps, and Elsbeth's like, "Do you think I'm going to let this go?" He's like, "No, I don't think you're going to let this go. But here's what I think about you. I think you're very clever, but you're very naive. You think that this world is going to swing towards righteousness when the world rewards might. And I am a mighty man indeed." And I was like, okay, you got some therapy sessions you have money and influence. That is what you have, but okay. And then we hear off in the distance, Judge Crawford. And he's like, no questions until the hearing. I just don't want any of this. And then out of nowhere, bang, bang, Delia shoots him. And yeah.
In my notes, I just write, what the F? I was just like, what is happening now? Huh? And Crawford is like on the steps bleeding, like he's been shot in the heart, it seems. Oh.
Yeah.
My gosh. And
And
Elsbeth,
she's like,
yeah.
Elsbeth is crying. She's like, we
Mhm.
would have gotten him. Like, this is not the way to do this. And from Delia's perspective, she's like, I had to do something. Like, we just kept coming up against brick wall versus brick wall versus brick wall. And as she had said before, I have nothing left to lose. Like, I mean, to be quite honest, this, not that I, hypothetically, if someone was having trouble finding a job and housing, like she's got a job in housing now. Like she's going to jail. It's not a great job. It's not a great housing, but
I think I'd rather live with my brother's cat than, but
I would too.
As Delia
I
said
would
she
too.
would,
But
instead of the
like
prison
I
system.
just I just was like that's how low she was, you know what I mean? Like that's where her mind had to be of like, okay, at least I could go do this. Maybe she's allergic to cats. I don't know.
Yeah,
Hypothetically.
I feel like Delia's plight was a little overwrought because listen,
Yeah.
she was found innocent. Like she didn't go to jail for this. She wasn't found guilty in a court of law. She's not a felon that's having trouble getting a job. Yes, she had some
She's also a white woman, so she has more
yeah,
privilege
she
walking through the world than others.
she had some bad publicity at some point because someone thought that she had killed someone. But listen, she was found innocent. She's not an ex-con having trouble looking for a job. So I thought that part of it was a little overwrought to me. Of would you have had that much trouble? I feel like, especially in our 24-hour news cycle, the Delia
Right.
court thing is probably long gone. So I felt
Well,
like they
especially because there was so much time in between
right.
this episode and the last episode.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like
no,
they
I'm with
overdid
you.
it.
I'm not saying like I don't justify her actions. I just was like trying to put myself in her mind of like,
Yeah.
I guess this is it.
Yeah,
I
Marissa,
guess this is it.
can you pan over a
What?
little bit so we can see your Luigi Mangione poster over
Ah!
on the wall there?
I mean, it's in my heart. It's in my heart.
Yeah, but I felt like the Delia was a little overdone. I was like, okay, like I
Yeah.
understand. Like,
I hope
yeah,
I hope that this isn't the last we see from her, and I hope there's like some jail conversations where she can like talk. But the thing is like she also could have leaned on Elsbeth. She could have asked for help. Like she was
yeah,
in a place where she would have been supported if she just had said like all she told Elsbeth was like you better nail this creep. So
yeah.
if I were Elsbeth, I'd be like, oh, it's on me. But if she said, look, this is how I'm feeling about this, and this is what I need, and this is what's going on, it could have had a much different outcome.
Listen, I think we all know Delia was not playing with a full box of crayons in the first place.
I
She's a weird one, that one. But yeah, it was rather, it was just, it was crazy. I was like, okay, I did not expect this to be the ending of the Judge Crawford saga. I think, you know what I think would have been even, I could have swallowed it a lot more because, and I almost thought for a second that this is going to happen because as Elsbeth and Crawford are outside the courtroom, we hear storm clouds are rumbling
right. I
outside.
thought he was gonna get shot by a lightning.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, is Crawford gonna get struck by lightning right now? Because this is the only way you can resolve this. But for him to die in that way, I was just like, oh, like that feels so, it feels so cheap and easy. Um, I don't know. It left a bad taste in my mouth that was the way that his story ended. But
Yes.
yeah,
Also, well, before we get into that part, I do just want to shout out the one line that made me super chuckle by the police officer who said, "We need a bus forthwith."
yeah, like what? Who wrote that? And I feel like that's like an ad lib from the background actor. He's like, we need a bus forthwith. Okay, buddy, what are you trying too hard, man? You're trying a little too hard.
Like, are you? This isn't Shakespeare. It's just Elsewhere.
He's gonna make them out of this one line he's gonna get in this episode. Like, did
Yeah.
you see my? He's in audition. He's like, did you see my episode of Elsbeth where I said we need a bus forthwith? I have culture in me. I said forthwith. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It kind of like took me out of the moment. I was like, wait, what's going on? And then I was like, did I just hear forthwith? And then I was like, what? And then we arrive at, you know, what happens after any public figure murder shooting is the news coverage begins. And I think this is most tragic because of how Milton died. Like, if he was struck by lightning, I don't think this would have been the response as opposed to him being shot by someone because he is being basically put up as a martyr for the system and all of this stuff. And we get this really interesting conversation. Like, this is the deepest conversation we've gotten about a critique about the justice system on Elsbeth, I think, the entire time. We've had little mentions, but this is like multi-character conversations coming into play here. And Rivers starts it off by saying, well, he got what he deserved. And Wagner's like, no, no, sir. This isn't justice. This is lawlessness.
Mm.
And then Teddy arrives, checking in on his mom, like, oh my gosh, da, da, da. And she's like, I'm okay, I'm okay. Teddy's like, this is just how the world is, right? Like, now I remember why I can't be a lawyer. I won't participate in a system that offers a veneer of fairness and gives cover to the privileged and the powerful. What's the point? And at this point, I'm like, yeah, Teddy, what are you going to do? And then Wagner comes in and he's like, to try. We have to try to make the system better. And it was like, oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, you're right, Wagner. Yeah, okay, yeah. And so yeah, Teddy's back to being Teddy, I guess.
Man, I had a tough time with this because it felt very ham-fisted. It felt very kind of PSA-ish. This is like a direct, like they were talking directly to Marissa Garza. Like,
yes, yeah. I was like, yeah,
yeah. It's almost like they forgot they were shooting a TV show. We're just like talking to the audience. I almost thought, I was like, is this a dream? Because the things happen in such rapid succession. Like Teddy literally runs into Elsbeth's job to announce that he is no longer going to be a lawyer because of this. Is Elsbeth dreaming? Is Elsbeth going to wake up in the hospital at Crawford's bedside? Are Crawford still going to be alive? Like, I was like, is there a way to salvage this? Is there a way to still have Crawford alive, still bring him to justice? I was waiting for Elsbeth to wake up.
Or he could be like shot and not dead.
Right, that's what I thought. She wakes up, she's at the hospital with Crawford. He was shot close to his heart, but he's going to live. So we still have an opportunity to bring him to justice. I was waiting for it because this scene felt like a dream scene. It felt like a scene you put in a show of, oh my gosh, the worst possible thing is happening. It's a nightmare. And it wasn't. It was, as far as we know right now, real life. I was like, oh,
well,
like,
and
yeah.
As much as I love, like, this is why I love the King verses, because they do make commentary on this, but usually it is not as explicit, not as in your face, right? Like, this is like in the past and on other shows, the Kings have made the point that the justice system is a veneer of fairness that gives power to the privileged and the powerful by the cases that they're talking about, by how characters are interacting, all of this stuff. But in this case, and I don't know if it's not like they haven't had network TV shows before. Like, I keep saying this is like network TV because The Good Fight really went in. Like, it really went in and really talked about some stuff. The Good Wife, on the other hand, kind of stayed a little bit more surface level, but it still had more finesse than just saying things like right out loud.
And you got to remember, Good Fight was technically not even a network show. It was Paramount.
It wasn't.
It was Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
And if they did show it on CBS after the fact, they would water it down. Like, they would edit things out.
Yes.
But yeah, like the Teddy stuff specifically, it felt overdone, right? It felt, what am I going to do now? Like, this whole thing has really just tarnished my view into the justice system. I was like, it's like he's giving a speech right now. Like, it felt, as you said, we've seen this thing in the King verse before, but it's been done through plot development. It's been done through things happening, not these big speeches done by characters.
And also, I hope they will explore this, but I doubt they will. I don't know if he is gay, but I don't know if having a white man give this message is like the best one, like the best person. If it had turned Wagner's heart, that would be like, that to me would, first of all, anytime Wendell Pierce is like lecturing someone, I take it personally. I'm like, I'm on it. Yeah, I hear you. Like, like whatever you tell me to do. And especially when it comes to things like this, because of his involvement in civil rights and all this stuff, I'm like, yep, you're right. We have to try it. You're right. I can't give up. You're right. Like, I know.
Yeah,
but
Wendell Pierce.
Teddy,
Wendell Pierce as Wagner is the right person to deliver these type of things.
Yes.
But the dialogue felt so in your face. It felt
Agreed.
So like, I was like, oh, this is a little. It was
as
a little
did
much.
the last part, because he goes, after he's like, we have to try, right, Elsbeth? Like, right? Like, you're on my, like, they were parents of Teddy, again, this weird dynamic of this thing, and Elsbeth is just like, I don't know. And like, so I know she was like having doubts during this case of whether to pursue this case. But the fact that this case could completely change after everything that Elsbeth has been through, apple juice cyanide, everything that has happened, even the good wife, the good fight, and now this is the case that turns her mind around on whether it being part of the justice system is worth it or not is interesting to me. Not that interesting, but just like, okay, I guess we'll see. I don't know. I have to see how it lands on the other side.
So I
But
did.
I thought like it was a little forced here for her. I was like, she's gonna say I don't know.
Yeah.
She's gonna say I don't know. I know this already.
Like I was literally waiting for her to wake up from a nightmare because that's how overwritten the scene felt.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have seen a promo for the next episode because I was just so curious
Ooh.
about like
Yes.
how this is going to affect the show. Like, could I
How is
get a
it
little
gonna affect the
insight?
show?
It doesn't really seem like it will at all, to be honest, because
Ugh.
it just seems like we're right back to where we've been, which is the kind of quirky Elsbeth investigating a crime. So I was just like, are we going to just have like casual mention of this in the future? And but we'll still be doing our same things. I don't know. This whole ending of the Wagner thing was really, I felt, botched to me. Like it really
You mean
didn't.
of the Crawford thing?
The Crawford thing. It really felt botched to me. It really did not feel satisfying because the satisfying thing would be what we always do. Nail Crawford, especially Crawford, who we've followed for half the season. It would be satisfying to see him get arrested, see him brought to justice, but I suppose that is the point. You don't always get justice. Things don't always go the way they're supposed to go, but this is Elsbeth. Things do always go the way they're supposed to go on Elsbeth
Well, and that
most of
could
the time.
happen with another character. I thought it would be interesting because of how well Crawford and Elsbeth played off each other. I mean, obviously, the actors are married to each other. There's, like they can go places other actors might not be able to go in terms of confrontation and like they trust each other that much. But like that to have that looming over Elsbeth for a longer time, like I would have not loved, I wouldn't have loved to see this, but if Crawford messed with Teddy getting into law school,
Mm.
if Crawford, like was messing with Elsbeth being on, like we have no idea where this consent decree thing has landed. Like having him get him in jail, but still, what if he was operating from behind bars? What if his power was that
Yeah.
much that there was commentary on the justice system after a verdict, the justice system after those things? And I think we kind of were robbed of that experience based on, unless he faked his own death, which it's not a soap opera, so chances are low. But
He could.
I think it could have been something more.
Yeah, he definitely could have been our Hannibal Lecter figure for a
Yeah.
while. I think it would have been fine if we got our usual ending that Ellsworth comes up with some really clever way to back him into a corner, to get him to admit what he did or find that right piece of evidence. It felt very dissatisfying to me. It was a twist. It's a twist that we're not used to. And we love twists. We love when they stray from the formula, but this didn't feel right to me. It just did not
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
good. It didn't feel good to me after watching this storyline play out over so many weeks for it to end so abruptly like this. If I felt cheated a little bit, I do have to say that.
Agreed. Yeah, and it will feel even worse to me if it doesn't get picked up in the next
Mm,
episode. If it's not acknowledged in some way, if there's not some sort of conversation, if there's not some sort of like we have to bring Elsbeth back from the well of doubt or something
right.
like that, we have to pull her back. If she's just like right back in it, I'm gonna be like, why did we do this? Why even then the whole Crawford storyline was wasted because
Yeah.
then we're robbed even more. And so I am disappointed at the moment. How disappointed will depend on the next episode.
Do we think they will? Is there a world where they still try and prove it, or are they just going to give up and be like, he's dead? So what's the point? Because I
What would
mean,
be
do we
like,
want to?
what would,
Do we want to still prove this man did bad things even though he's dead?
oh, probably, well, I mean, my God. Well, yes. Or there's going to be another corrupt judge that comes along and they're going to be like, well, we didn't get Crawford. We have to get this guy or this
Yeah.
person. And, you know, I could also see like them getting fed up with the martyrdom story that is being put out there for everyone. Like, oh my
Right.
gosh, he died for the justice system. And then like having a press conference and saying like, just so you know, like
Yeah,
this
because
is this is what's going on. We know we can't like charge him for anything, but this is why this happened.
it just feels like there is more than enough there
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
cast doubt on this man, even though we don't have like legitimate evidence. Like I know this is supposed to be it feels I do wonder how close this was shot and filmed and written, how close this was to the Luigi Mangione stuff. To be like, is this a commentary on that? Because there's been a Law and Order episode that was basically about Luigi
Oh,
Mangione that was also done this season. So is it
they're
close
on
enough?
that. They're
Yeah,
they're always Law and Order is on that.
yeah. Is it close enough to have been filmed to this? Was this a commentary on that? Was this a commentary to Trump of if you have enough power and privilege, you can do anything and it won't matter because you can literally get away with anything? Is it commentary on that? So unfortunately, there's so many things this could be a commentary about in our world that who knows
Yeah.
which issue is it's actually a commentary on. But it does feel like it's a commentary on the world.
Well, there could have been some adjustment here because I just looked up the incident with Luigi Mangione happened on December 4th, 2024.
Mm.
And we are now sitting in May,
I
April
mean, almost.
of 2025. And we know that there were delays in production. Like there were things that happened, that there were spaces of episodes that we didn't, weeks where we didn't have episodes. There was a delay in the premiere of this, and we've also said numerous times, this is like my crime case. I'm like, and also we've said numerous times how stuff has been like disjointed. So I wonder if they are folding this in because they felt like they needed to have some sort of statement on the state of the world. Like I don't know if it's actually going after a person or like or just like this system of capitalism and wealth and what wealth can do in a system of justice like the one that we currently have. And so I wouldn't be surprised, is all I'm
Yeah,
saying. Is that if they were like, oh, maybe we need to say something because we're kind of sliding into a place we never thought we would be in this country and we're here now. So maybe we need to say something.
There could have been space for a last minute pivot. And reading about this, like I've seen interviews with Michael Emerson and Carrie Preston about this show, this episode, and it feels from what they've said when this all started, they didn't know how this was going to end. They were
I believe it.
as surprised as anyone else what the ending was going to be, and so like Michael Emerson did not go into this knowing that this would be the end. So I know it does. It tells you there could have been a last minute pivot, which I've said again, it leaves me a little dissatisfied in how this ended, but it is what it is. We'll see how the show picks this up. Whether it's just a momentary mention or is it going to take all of next episode to get Elsbeth back into her groove, to get her back into her crime fighting ways? Or is it going to be like, we'll just soldier on, even though we now have this view of the system? Like how we have 2 more episodes left after this episode to wrap this season up. And this felt like a season ending episode. So it's left to see how the show is going to wrap the season up. And is there going to be any surprises? Is there going to be any big moments happening? We do know that in the last episode, there is going to be a cavalcade of recent guest stars. So will this be a reminder to Elsbeth? Look at all the good you've done. Look at all the people you've put away for their bad crimes. You can't stop crime fighting, Elsbeth. Look at what you've done. Is it going to be like
you are Batman?
Like yeah, like you're a good woman. You just keep doing your thing. So it'll be interesting to see how they pick it up.
Yeah, we shall see. We shall see.
So, Marissa, that seems to be the end of the episode. Do you want to tell the good people where they can find you, what you're up to, and how many pens you've purchased since last time we met?
I did not purchase any pens, but pens were purchased for me. My dad purchased these Curva pens.
Ooh.
It is like a pen, but it also looks like you know when you go to the dentist, the scraper hook things?
Ugh.
That's what it looks like in the pen. I don't know. It's supposed to be more ergonomically correct in terms of writing. He was really big on it. He's like trying to get into the stationery world, my father, because he wants to be connected to us. But yeah, it's like this little hook thing. If you're watching YouTube, you could see it. But anywho, I've acquired 2 new pens. You can find me at itsmemarissa.com. These days, I actually have put together like a little thing I'm calling the Start Small Studio. So if you have told yourself, hey, I want to start a podcast, but you don't really know how to do it or what to do it or how to talk about it or where to do any of that, or just like have a fear of being heard or seen in the public sphere, check it out. The best way to do that is to join my mailing list. There is a free private podcast where I kind of introduce the project that you will get when you join the mailing list. So
Nice.
other than that, it's me, Marissa G, wherever I am these days. So that's what's going on with me, Jason. What's going on with you?
Yeah, listen, nowadays my docket's a little clearer. I've got this. You can, of course, find us here as long as Elsbeth is going. And don't forget to check out our Good Wife rewatch that will keep going after the Elsbeth season. It's been going. It's going to keep going. We're into season 3 now. Big moments happening in the Good Wife. So come on over to the Good Wife side of our podcast as we rewatch the show. If you love more of this goodness of me and Marissa, you can find it there. You can also check me out on my podcast, The Perfect Match, where we've recently launched a Patreon, and we are going through the old seasons of Married at First Sight. We're in season 1 right now. It's interesting to take a look back. It seems like I'm stuck in the 2011s, 14s, because the first season was in 2014. I'm talking about The Good Wife, which is in 2011. So I'm obsessed with the past, as you can all see. Check me and my co-host Asia Welch out there. But yeah, that's it for me. That's it for Marissa. And until next week, stay good.